What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast. We are back at you once again. This is episode number 4 of our 2021 off season. We are very excited to be talking rule changes here today. And this is the brainchild of my co-host to my right. He's the only Yankee fan once again. He's the only Yankee fan that'll ever appear on this show, god damn it. Mike Haver. Mike Haver, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. And no school today, so I'm well rested, ready to be here. And thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you came up with this idea for the show, and I'm really excited to do it. With us as well, the commissioner of our fantastic fantasy baseball league and the reigning, defending, undisputed world heavyweight bigs champion of 2021, a 3-time champion, and our esteemed commissioner, Ben Nisman. Benny, how you doing today, sir?
Doing great, Joe. Thank you so much for the intro, as always. I don't get too many highlights during the week, and especially now that the season is over, I get very few highlights during the week. But one of them is to get to talk to you guys about baseball. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to talking some Major League Baseball, perhaps some fantasy. I'm not exactly sure what you guys have in store, so I'm looking forward to the unpredictable as well.
Well, let's dive into this thing. And Mike Haber, I'm just going to kick this thing over to you because this is your baby. This is the child of your brain. Let's hear what we're doing today.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys a couple of rule changes based on maybe some complaints from the fans, complaints from Major League Baseball about not getting enough revenue, etc. So these are 10 proposed rule changes that some of them are quite possibly going to be in effect for 2022, and then some of them will never, ever, ever be in effect, and are just kind of tossed in for fun.
Okay.
But I figure what we could do is I'll say the rule change, and then I'll hear from one of you, and then I'll hear from the other, and then we'll kind of come to a consensus as to like whether or not you would push that rule into effect in 2022.
So we get to play commissioner. You're just throwing the rules at us on whether we would stamp off on it and approve it or throw it in the bin.
Exactly.
Perfect. Let's do this.
All right. So we're going to start off with one of the most obvious, and we're going to talk because we talked a bit off air on this one, but we're going to talk about robo umps and robo check swings as well. Based on this last, it was the Scherzer against the Giants and that horrible call.
Mm-hmm.
I had to kind of throw that in as well, the check swings being determined by robo umps. But Joe, turn it to you first.
All right. Robo umpires, bring them in yesterday. Bring them in 3 weeks ago. Get Angel Hernandez out from behind the goddamn plate. Get Ron Culpa out from behind the plate. Get
Country
C.B.
Joe
Buckner out of
West.
there. Like, get all of these guys who just look. I respect the fact that there is a 97-mile-an-hour ball that is this big flying at you, and you have to decide whether or not it hit a target the size of a cereal box. And if you could do it relatively well, great. Good on you. But realistically, when we're talking about millions of dollars in player revenue and billion-dollar enterprise, it shouldn't come down to something like this when we have the technology to create these things. At the end of the day, a ball is a ball and a strike is a strike. And it shouldn't come down to somebody's decision on whether or not it was a ball or a strike in something as big as a playoff game, a World Series game, or some random fucking game in August between the two last place teams. It doesn't matter. A ball is a ball, a strike is a strike. Give me robo umps yesterday.
So
Benji?
Yeah, first I would like to ask Mike a question. Are these ideas that you are all for, or just thoughts that you had? You're not necessarily for every one of them, and you're just like throwing them out, or
I'm not for or against any of these publicly yet. I kind of want to hear from you guys, and then I can kind of throw in my input. Yeah.
All right. So as far as robo umps, I'm in complete agreement with Joe as far as if the technology is there, like it needs to be there at this point. Not only just for the players and for the fans, even like gamblers, bettors that see themselves getting screwed over. Like at least if we know that that's legitimate, it turns off certain bettors from the sport to saying, like, why am I even going to invest money in this when I'm getting screwed on the strike zone? So that's for one thing. Secondly, I have a major problem with the fact that at the end of games, the player has to deal with a press conference or the media, or the manager has to deal with it, where there is no accountability whatsoever for a bad call. Like, why aren't the umpires put under the hot lights to deal with that kind of criticism? That their union must be amazing that they never have to deal with that. It frustrates the hell out of me. Obviously, now we're at the point where we can even see that square strike zone for all of us to see whether it's a ball and a strike. It's a turnoff to a new fan that's interested in seeing a kid that's watching the sport and understands the rules as far as if he doesn't swing and it's out of the zone, it's a ball. And all of a sudden it's in the zone, he doesn't swing, and it's called a ball, and the kid is confused. For new people that are trying to enjoy this sport, there's a disconnect and it needs to be rectified. I don't exactly know how you deal with the check swing, Mike. I feel like that's still something that's somewhat subjective. Maybe you can figure out a way to see what the limit is to how far the bat needs to cross, or when his wrists twist, whatever it is, and make it a replayable play. And that's the best I could come up with. We might end up having longer games as a result if we're replaying every single check swing. So I'm not exactly sure how you deal with that one. Maybe that's something for the distant future, but just for now, if it's something as quick as that the umpire is back behind the plate and something tells him that it hit this target or it didn't, and then he can call a strike or a ball in accordance to what he hears. If it can happen that quickly, why isn't it here yet?
Yeah, no, it's a great points. And I think you brought up a great point also, the argument of subjectivity versus objectivity. And is there black and white in baseball? I mean, is there gray in baseball, or is it black and white? As Joe was saying, a ball is a ball, a strike is a strike. A fair ball is a fair ball, a foul ball is a foul ball. So where is there room in baseball for subjectivity and for actual umpires to bring their input rather than
that went
fact?
out the window a long time ago when these teams became billion-dollar enterprises individually. That went out the window a long time ago when baseball players are signing $400 million contracts.
Yeah.
That went out the window when sports betting became legal too.
Yeah.
Ben brought up a really good point that let's just say I'm a professional gambler and I'm going to put my money down on a ball game. I'm most certainly going to know if Angel Hernandez is behind the plate, and I'm not going to bet on that game.
Yeah.
Give me robo umps. The check swing thing, I guess I'm kind of with Ben on that. Like it's a little difficult to say, okay, yeah, let's implement it without knowing how it would be implemented, right? So if it's a reviewable thing, great, but then you're walking that line of like, how many reviews do you get in a ball game? You might want to add one because of this being an important thing. Give me the robo ump. Give me the robo home plate ump all day, but the check swing thing I might still be out on.
So just
are you guys?
Oh, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, are you guys with me on the fact that, like, does it confuse you that the umpires never have accountability and never have to talk after the game?
That's a whole different argument altogether.
I know.
Right?
I just wanted to throw that.
But yeah, I want to have Angel Hernandez in front of a microphone after the game, and have a question be asked. You guys really blew that call in the 6th inning. What did you see?
Yeah.
Or what was the ruling on the replay in the 8th inning about whether or not, like, blah blah blah, right? Like,
it's so rare that you actually hear from the umpire. You actually did hear from him after the Wilmer Flores call against Scherzer on the check swing,
and you heard from Jim Joyce on the Armando Galarraga game. Like, there are instances where it happens, and by and large, like, look, if you don't know an umpire's name, that's the best compliment you could pay that umpire.
Yeah.
It's the ones that you know their names are the bad umpires.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Fair.
yeah.
I think
Benny,
I'm-
are you with me? You're in on robo-umps right now.
Yeah,
And the check
if
swing
it's
thing, like, I'm for it if you can tell me how it works.
I don't know how thoroughly the robo umps have been implemented in minor leagues yet. If there have been issues with it, from what I understand, there have been some issues. But my one caveat, if you will, is that it needs to be something that's instantaneous. Like it hits the strike zone. The umpire knows within 1 second and can make the signal. If there's a holdup, if the machine is broken for some reason, then we're not ready. My assumption is that we're in 2021, the technology is in place. That's what I assume, but I don't know for sure.
The only thing I ever heard in reference to that was before the 2020 season was. So between the end of the 2019 season and the beginning of the 2020 season, they implemented it in the Arizona Fall League. And I know people who have gone to those games, and it was just a bit odd that the pitch would be thrown and the umpire wouldn't make a signal right away. There would be a feeling of like, oh, okay, now the call's made, right? Like it's just enough that you notice it. But I think it's something where like over time we would just get used to that.
Yeah. And I think I'm with you guys too. I think I'd push for robo umps.
All right. Robo umps, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Before we get to it, when do you guys, because it's going to come, like it's happening eventually. Do you guys have a prediction on what year you can see it finally with us for real, for good?
It could be as soon as the next season based on the CBA. I think that's something you would have to agree upon in the CBA. And the umpires CBA as well. So, yeah.
Right.
The next time the umpires have a CBA, I think is the next time you'll see real talk about that.
And one more point about that, you were talking about the lack of accountability. I don't think that's just a baseball thing. Like when I think about it, I don't really hear, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really hear press conferences from other,
Referees, yeah.
referees.
No, but what you do
officials.
have on, especially, not so much in the NBA, but in the NHL and the NFL, you've got microphones on these guys, so that the crowd knows what the hell the call is.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for much. Mic up a home plate umpire, or mic up the crew chief, and have them explain a review call.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, out of those sports, maybe not hockey, because I feel like they're calling an offsides and a penalty. But I would say that NBA is the hardest one to officiate, like what's a foul and what's not a foul. Same thing with NFL. I find like the fact that so much is happening with 11 players on each side, they have so many referees. I'm amazed with how good they do for the most part. I think that in general, we can agree that the officiating of the four sports is probably easiest in baseball, and they seem to be the worst ones.
It's interesting. That's a great point.
All right, Mike, let's move on to the next one here.
All right, we're going to take kind of a detour here, and we're going to talk about playoff seeding. So this year there was some chatter that the Giants and Dodgers have the two best records in baseball, and yet they face each other in the NLDS, which I think a lot of people were disappointed by because the Braves had won 88 games in the regular season. So why should they have been seeded ahead of a team like the Dodgers, who were a wild card team? So my proposal is that playoff seeding is based on records instead of divisions. You are still guaranteed to make the playoffs if you win your division, but you're still seeded based on your record. So if the Giants and Dodgers, if everything was the same as it was this year,
the Dodgers and Giants would be the 1 and 2 seeds.
1 and 2, correct.
Ben, I'll let you start here, but I have to ask this question. Do leagues matter at that point? Or are we getting 10 teams in ranked 1 through 10? Or are you getting 1 through 5 in the AL and 1 through 5 in the NL?
Leagues matter. 1 through 5 AL, 1 through 5 NL.
Thank you. Ben, I'll let you go first.
All right. I love this conversation, by the way. I'm so happy you picked this one. Firstly, I love the way it is right now. I'm so satisfied with it the fact that if you're not first place, then you should be the wild card. Like, there is an emphasis on winning the division. So if you're not the division winner, that's it. Like, you have to deal with that. The only thing that I might change, and this kind of contradicts what I just said, is that instead of making it a 1-game playoff where you've worked your ass off the whole season and it comes down to 1 game, I would make it a best of 3. Now, I'm totally okay with it being a 1 game because that, again, well, you didn't win your division. That's why you're in this situation. I could see it both ways, but as far as the seeding, I wouldn't change anything there personally.
Okay. Joe?
So, in theory, taking this season as an example, you would seed it in the National League: Giants 1, Dodgers 2, Brewers 3, Cardinals 4, Braves 5. Because the Braves won 88 games, the Cardinals won 90. So you're telling me that a division winner would have to go into a wild card game?
Yeah.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
Good point, Joe.
And your next statement would be, oh, well, okay, the Cardinals didn't win their division, so they're in. So they're in the wild card game. Who else do you put in there? Because you're either putting in the other team that didn't win their division in a 106-win Dodgers team or a division winner. Either way, it doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I think now over on the American League side, let's take a look over there. You would seed it Rays 1, Astros 2, White Sox 3, Yankees and Red Sox 4 and 5. It would have worked the same way, right? If you seeded it across all leagues, you would have Giants, Dodgers, Rays, Astros, and Brewers finished with the same record, so they're 4 and 5. The White Sox would be the 6th seed. The Yankees, the Red Sox, then the Cardinals, and then the Braves. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I like the way it's currently at. I'm with Ben on this one.
Yeah,
but I do like the idea of getting creative and making a different sort of structure around the playoffs, but I really like the way it's done currently. Now, what I would propose is a completely new shakeup and reseed everything and expand for 2 more teams, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. Would you want more teams in the playoffs?
I would want it nice and really nicely distributed, make it 32 teams like the NFL, 4 4-team divisions on either side. But that's just me.
Yeah. See, there's something that I like about the exclusivity of the baseball playoffs.
Oh, I'd still only keep like 4. I'd keep the 4 division winners and then 1 more, the best of the rest would be who would make the playoffs. But now you're getting 4 division winners, and the worst division winner plays in the in the wild card game.
How about you feel, Mike? Do you have an opinion on it?
So, my only argument to it is that all the National League teams, they're all playing the same teams. So do the Dodgers deserve to be in that 1-game playoffs, or do the Braves? And in my opinion, the team with the worst record needs to earn their way through the hardest route to the playoffs. Because if you're looking at football seeding, right, the number 1 plays the bottom tier. And as the Dodgers, who have the 2nd best record in baseball, is it right that they're playing the number 1 team in the first round of it? Well, they have to play that 1-game playoff, and then they play the best team.
If you want to tell me that you reseed after the wild card, I'm okay with that. If you want to reseed it that way, fine, but all division winners have to be out of the wild card game. Right? So if you want to tell me that the Dodgers beat the Cardinals in the wild card game, and then the Giants play the Braves and the Dodgers play the Brewers, because that would be 1 versus 4 and 3 versus 2, I'd be okay with that. If you want to reseed it after the wild card game.
Okay.
But so winning your division automatically gets you to that point.
Even if your division is like absolute garbage, like the National
You mean
League?
Like the National League East? Yes.
Yeah.
You've won your division. You've beaten the teams you have been, for the last 20-something years, have been tasked with beating. You beat them. You go to the playoffs. You get a playoff series. You don't get a playoff game.
I agree. I absolutely agree. What's just out of curiosity, what do you guys feel as far as like the one game playoff versus a best of three? That's been a conversation that hovered around WFAN after the Yankees lost the one game to the Red Sox.
Because of course it did.
I'm just saying, I'm not surprised. It wasn't a thing when they won those games against Oakland and Minnesota. It was when they lost it against Houston in 2015. But it is an interesting conversation whether should it really come down to one game. Let's give us more baseball, best 2 out of 3. Hey, but you didn't win your division, therefore you should play one game. Like, it's a good argument.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And if the Dodgers were eliminated this year in the one game, I think we'd be having a different conversation. I think if the Yankees and Dodgers were both eliminated in a one game playoff, I think it would be changed, honestly. But the fact that the Dodgers broke through is great. I don't know. I like the one game also. It's an exciting game for sure. And I hear what you're saying, Ben, in that like you didn't win your division. You deserve to play in this game.
Mm-hmm. And
it also, it makes game 162 more exciting. Like this year we had an incredible LA season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm all for the one game. I kind of like it, but
I'm with you on the one game, Mike, because you look back at a game like the A's and the Royals, I think it was 2015. 2014, with John Lester on the mound, and like that game had everything you could ask for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, what if that was just game one? And then the other two games are like boring blowouts. Or the Royals went out and won game two. Well, now their pitching staff is fucked. Or if they go deep into game two, say they go 16 innings in game two, and now your bullpen and your rotation are fucked, and you get put into a game. Like, one game is enough that all hands should be on deck, and your rotation should be set up that, okay, your second best starter's going in game one if you win.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on off of this topic. Next.
All right, this is kind of a wild one.
Okay.
So what other kind of starts with a rhetorical question, but what other sport has its best players on the bench at the end of the game? No other sports. So here's my question for you.
Oh,
I know where this is going, and I hate it already. Okay. But go ahead, Mike.
All right. How many times has your team been down 3-2 in the ninth inning, and you've got the 7, 8, 9 of your lineup coming up? And my proposal, ninth inning, if you're trailing, you start anywhere in your lineup. You could start with the 1, 2, 3. You could start with 3, 4, 5. Rather than Kyle Higashioka, Andrew Velasquez, and Brett Gardner trying to.
First of all, those guys shouldn't be the 7, 8, 9 in your lineup if that's the fucking problem, but I digress.
Okay, I'll throw it out to you guys. I can tell you hate it.
Okay, so you're telling me that in the 8th inning, I could theoretically go Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, and fucking DJ LeMahieu in whatever order of those three guys you want. All three of them could strike out looking on 3 fucking pitches, and then in the 9th inning, I get a redo of that inning? No. Sorry. Because we already went through this part of the order. Where you are in the order is where you are in the order, and that's your fault offensively for being there. You've had 8 other opportunities to not be in this position.
True. Okay.
Ben?
That's fair.
I couldn't have put it better. I'll just say that that's the beauty of baseball. The fact that there's a way to turn over the order when you need it most. There are certain times in the 6th inning where you had that opportunity to cash in and it didn't happen, or maybe it did. But when push comes to shove and you're in the 9th inning, there are other ways for you to potentially win that game. And it's called having a bench. You have pinch hitters. You have a way to scratch out a run or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it may be. But the order is the order, as Joe said. And I think that's the beauty of baseball, that you play 1 through 9. And if you manage to get through it at the most important part of the game, more power to you. That's why you're in a better position to win the game.
Let's also talk about the idea that, okay, let's say it's a high scoring game and you're down 11-10 in the 9th. And Judge, Stanton, and LeMahieu have all had 5 at-bats already. And one of them's 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. Do you want him going up there a 6th time? Even though the other 2 guys in that around him have done well? Do you want to do that? There's also something to the idea that the bullpen has already beaten you for 8 innings. Why should they have to go back through the heart of the order again? If you're lucky enough to have the heart of the order coming up in the 9th, congratulations. You're in a position.
Yeah.
I think I agree with that too, because the idea of the other manager strategizing for your lineup is huge.
Yeah.
That manager is strategically placing arms against bats, and to have that reliever throw an inning, a perfect inning against your 3 best bats, and then you've only got like, I don't know, the worst bullpen arm you can think of out there left available, and you got to go through that order again.
Right. And another thing, and I know we might be saying goodbye to this after this year, but one thing that was really exciting about a National League game when your team is pitching and they're facing the 8 hitter, and you're like, oh my God, this is the 3rd out on the 8 hitter. That's sweet, because next inning they're going to have to make a decision. Either they're going to have their crappy pitcher starting off the inning, probably making an out right off the bat, or do they finally go to the bench here? Like, that's something that's exciting about the game, and specifically the senior circuit.
The other thing, let's say for the sake of argument that the Yankees were to tie the score. Where would you pick up the lineup in the 10th inning? From where it was supposed to be, or where it ended up?
Right.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I hate it. It stinks. It smells like moldy cheese. Moving on.
All right. And we're going to segue in. That's a good segue, because we're talking about making the game more exciting. So I have kind of a 2-parter here to make the game faster and more exciting. So number one, a lot of people have vocalized that they have issues with the shift, and how much it's taken away from hitters who, could be boosting their average, but they're hitting line drive rockets right at a second baseman playing right field. So part one is, do you think there should be any sort of shift ban in major leagues? And part two is, for the speed sake of the game. I know these are 2 very different questions, but I'm just kind of lumping them together. For the sake of speed in the game, should we implement a pitch clock to speed up the game, to make sure that, I don't know what the time is. I know that 12 seconds was thrown out, 15 seconds, but do you guys think that a pitch clock would help speed the game, or do you think it would actually hurt the game in a sense?
I think the pitch clock is the easier one. Ben, I'll let you start on whichever one you want, though.
Okay, I'll start with the pitch clock.
Okay.
And it could be something that's even more than 15. I could go with 20 or 25 seconds. In fact, just to give the pitcher a little bit more time to collect himself. 25 seconds would be fine to me. The clock starts when the pitcher gets the ball back. So ball in the dirt, whatever, ball pitched, back to the pitcher, now starts the 25 seconds. My one big issue with it is, what do you do about throwing over to the other, to first, to second, to third, whatever? You can't, I mean, are you going to let a pitcher continue to just do that just to reset the clock? It would start to get annoying. At the same time, you can't continue to let it tick down as he's trying to actually make a pickoff move and screw over the pitcher, and then the base runner gets the advantage. That's where I could see the pitch clock becoming a problem, just when there's a base runner. So maybe what you do is you only do the clock when there's nobody on base. That's the only way that I could think to do it. I would do 20 to 25 seconds. Starts when the pitcher gets the ball.
That's exactly how they're doing it in the minor leagues right now. I've been watching minor league baseball since I moved to Las Vegas. Yeah, and they implemented the pitch clock sometime around 2012 or 2013. I know because I watched Dylan G on the mound during a pitch clock. All right, so that puts it into time frame of how long it's been going on at the AAA level. During my time in Vegas, I sat down in the bullpen, talked to Frank Viola, Vic Black, Cody Satterwhite, Hat Torres, Johnny Manel, Dylan G himself. Like there've been enough guys down in that bullpen where I was like, guys, how do you feel about the pitch clock? And the overwhelming majority were, it doesn't matter. The guys that the pitch clock are for are guys like Pedro Baez, who take upwards of a minute to throw the ball. The human rain delay, known as Steve Traxel, was horrible about this. So those are the guys that this is geared toward. Not everybody else, because by and large, the game is just going to move at that pace anyway. So for me, throw the pitch clock out there. Go ahead. As far as your question about pickoff moves, Ben, if you pick off a batter and you get the ball back to the pitcher, that's when the clock starts again. Already at AAA. So if I try to pick up a guy at first, the second I catch the ball back on the mound,
it restarts again.
It restarts. Yeah, that's
And
fine.
The penalty is what? It's a ball if you exceed
It's an
the
automatic ball if you blow the pitch clock, but I've seen the pitch clock blown right as the pitcher is starting his windup, and they don't call it an automatic ball. So like it's it's just one of those like, hey guys, come on, we kind of want to move this along.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not put like like the delay of game in football where they, if you can't get the snap off before the zero, then
yeah, there's not like a 10-yard penalty or whatever. So pitch clock, go ahead, put it in. Like it's not really.
How many seconds is it, Joe?
I think it's 20. Might be 15, but I think it's 20.
20 is good.
Yeah.
Does the batter stepping out? How does that affect the pitch
restarts the clock?
It restarts it.
Restarts the clock. What? So if he steps out at 8 seconds and he steps back in, he's only got 8 seconds. No. It resets the clock.
Okay.
Yeah. As for the shift, Benjamin.
All right. So I'm probably in the minority as I've listened to MLB Network, WFAN, other podcasts. They hate it. I love the shift. Okay. I love it because it's a defensive strategy. If you can't hit the ball the other way, go play in another league. You don't belong in MLB. I'm sorry. It's a strategy, okay? They shift to one direction because they know you're a pull hitter. They'll pitch inside, okay? Either you don't swing at it because it's not in your happy zone, or you try to hit it past them because you can clobber the crap out of it, or figure out a way to bunt or force them to start getting the ball pitched to the other side of the plate so maybe you can hit the ball the other way. There's a way to play as the batter against the shift as much as it is a strategy against the hitter. So I love the shift. If I want to put 7 guys in one side of the field, leave no outfielders, okay, and just have a pitcher, a catcher, and 7 other guys between second and first, I should be able to do that with no problem. Figure out a way to hit the ball the other way. You're a baseball player.
Tremendous argument. You're wrong, but it's okay. It's okay. Here's why you're wrong.
I'm entitled to my opinion.
Of course. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Here's what I will ask you. And again, I have to go to other sports because of this, because this is one of those things that you just have to look at. If I want to put all 11 guys on defense for an NFL team on the right side covering Randy Moss in his prime, I could do that, right? No, I couldn't, because it would be an illegal formation. If I wanted to put my tallest guy in the key of a basketball court and have him just swat all kinds of shots every time it goes near the goal, I could do
3
that,
seconds
right?
in the key. No.
3 in a key and goaltending. They have implemented
3 in a key is almost never called, by the way, these days. I will say it's still a rule. But I
digress. Rules have been made over the course of time in sports to level the playing field when things are unfair to people. Now, who is this unfair to? My answer is left-handed batters. Only left-handed batters, because nobody's shifting against righties. I can prove this with statistics. I'm going to share my screen because I knew this was coming, and I looked it up. In 2021, the shift was implemented a percentage of plate appearances for every single batter. Seth Beer led the way. He's a lefty. All 10 of his plate appearances for the Arizona Diamondbacks, the shift was implemented.
Oh.
The highest person after that was somebody that my co-host Ben Nisman absolutely adores. 97.6% of the time that Carlos Santana came to the plate, the shift was on.
He's a
Only as
switch hitter.
Yeah, only as a
Sure.
lefty.
Only as a lefty, though.
Hmm.
Only as a lefty. In fact, if you scroll down this screen, the first right-handed batter you come to
Holy shit.
is 38th in line, and it's Mike Zunino, who was shifted on 80% of the time. And then you keep going and you find Todd Frazier's 40 plate appearances this year. Doesn't matter. Luke Voigt is the next real hitter at 53rd with 75% of the time.
Wow.
After that, we get all the way down here to Hunter Renfroe at 68% of the time. This isn't that they're doing it specifically for everybody. This is specifically geared toward left-handed hitters.
Okay.
Guys like Carlos Santana, Joey Gallo, Matt Olson, Yasmani Grandal, Big Dick Mike Ford could probably see an improvement in batting average and on-base percentage if the shift goes away. And what you're doing is you're clipping guys' ability to get on base, to get hits, and to ultimately make money. You're cutting down the ability for a lefty to make the most he possibly can because you're allowing a defensive alignment that is different for anybody else in the lineup. So my feeling is that this is something that needs to be tapered back because it targets only one type of player. If I lined this up and it was lefty righty all over the place, different story, and I'd be like, go for it. But the fact that it only targets left-handed batters is a very, very big problem.
Okay. I can't see that list because it's small when you screen share it, but you might find some lefties in there that had good years. I mean, obviously not Carlos Santana or a Joey Gallo, but you might find some lefties in there that were able to win and play well in spite of the shift. I don't know how many, but like, I know that there are some lefties this year that had good years. So I don't know if we can say that it affects, although it's implemented for all lefties or most lefties, that it affects them all the same way negatively. Maybe Joey Gallo just sucks. Maybe Carlos Santana just sucks. Like
maybe Jose Ramirez is number 3. Maybe Cody Bellinger is number 11.
Okay, Cody Bellinger had a bad year, but Cody Bellinger has had good years where the shift was implemented on him. He's had a Rookie of the Year season. He's had an MVP season. I'm sure the shift was implemented in 2019 during his MVP year. And he said, screw you. I'll figure out a way to just hit it past you guys anyway. Jose Ramirez, I don't know what his numbers are this year, but if a shift was implemented on him, I'm sure it was implemented on him in 2019 or other years where he had big years.
Cody Bellinger's MVP season, he was shifted on 80.2% of the time. In 2021, it increased to 91.3% of the time.
All right, but I mean, I understand it's 11%, but it's also only 11%. 80% is still a pretty big number, Joe, isn't it?
Sure, it's 4 out of every 5. It's, basically every time he's at the plate.
Okay.
Here's my other argument with it, because Joe was talking about like leveling the playing field, and if you as a lefty hit the ball into the shift and a second baseman in short right field catches the ball on the ground, he has a chance to throw you out at first.
Mm-hmm.
If a righty hits the ball to short left field to the shortstop,
there's no chance.
He has no chance to throw him out.
Throw.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are talking black and white here and like leveling the playing field, it strictly is
left-handed batters.
It's worse for the lefty hitters, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, I see your point.
Here's what I would propose. You can only have 2 fielders on either side of the second base bag until the pitcher begins his windup, or begins to throw,
So
Um,
then a shortstop can run over there, or a third baseman can run
sure,
over there.
sure. You want to do that? Fine.
He'll never be ready in time.
Exactly. You want to put him over there, that's fine, but he has to be going there after the ball has begun to be pitched. And then look,
So in the delivery and the
doesn't that
windup,
benefit the hitter? Doesn't that benefit the hitter to hit it up the middle? Because this shortstop or this second baseman is sprinting to either side of the bag, that by the time he recognizes that the ball's now behind him, he can't turn around and get to it in time. That's how I would implement it.
Okay.
I would just
I'm okay
say
with
that you can only have 2 fielders on either side of second base until the ball is pitched. What you do, what the fielders do after the ball's been pitched is irrelevant, right? Like they're all going to be trying to play the ball. You can't stop them from doing that. But to physically line your defense up with your first baseman, your second baseman is a short right fielder, your right fielder in the corner, your center fielder in right center. At what point does it not become baseball as it was designed? And you have to implement some sort of rule to level the playing field, just as you would not allowing Wilt Chamberlain to goaltend all day, not allowing you to put 8 dudes on the left guard in football. Like there are certain ways you have to align your defense.
Baseball's been played for over 100 years. I'm pretty sure that the shift has been going on as well. I mean, why is this something that's being more of a talking point now? Is shifting happening more often now, or teams just didn't realize this strategy in the 30s? Like
they didn't even know about they didn't really implement this strategy in the like Barry Bonds didn't get fucking shifted to like this.
No.
And if you're gonna shift, that's the guy.
Well, is it because hitters today are so two-dimensional in that like they're trying to pull a home run?
Yes. Yeah,
I mean,
that's a whole different argument, but yes,
yeah.
I agree.
Right, but that's okay. That's also part of it, that
sure.
Baseball players have gotten worse, arguably. Like they don't hit the ball the other way as much now. They don't hit the ball up the middle as much now.
Isn't that also a testament to like pitchers being better than they were in the 40s and 60s? Really?
I don't.
How
I
many
don't know
dudes
the
were throwing
answer.
100 miles an hour? Like every dude coming out of a bullpen nowadays throws 100 miles an hour and has a slider of 92.
Right, but pitchers were also throwing more complete games and were lasting longer back in today. I mean, great, you throw 100 miles an hour, but you're going to be gone after 5-6 innings today.
Sure. And your bullpen is going to bring in another guy who throws 99 from the left side and an arm angle that you're not expecting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Outlaw the shift. Ben, I think, is still in favor of it. Mike, where do you stand on it?
Oh, I agree. I'd say outlaw the shift. I think if we are looking at it black and white, I think we have to level the playing field, and I think that I don't know. I do think if we're also taking into account the argument of like getting back to how do we make baseball entertaining and how do we get more viewers and the answer is bringing more action to the sport and to cut down on hitters' abilities to hit the ball and to get on base. I mean, you're taking the action out of the game and you're almost forcing the 3 true outcomes even further than we already have it. Like, because the solution is hit the ball over their heads.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to the next one. That was fun.
Where are you on the clock, Mike?
Oh yeah, the pitch clock.
I think I'm with you guys. I think why not? Let's try it out.
Yeah.
I mean, 20. I see 20 seconds, but I also like, the rules have to be really specific as far as when it resets, and I do see room for error there. So I think they need to implement like a really, really clear set of rules and perfect it in the minors. I don't think it's like a 2022 thing yet, but
okay, fair enough.
All
right, next up.
All right, ready to get even more wild? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of people think, and a lot of people meaning me, that baseball can sometimes turn into a joke when one team is destroying another team, and maybe it's like 15-4 or something, and position players are being brought in to pitch because you don't want to gas your bullpen. But at that point, aren't we venturing further into baseball as a joke mode if we're letting position players pitch? So what are your thoughts on the idea of a mercy rule versus position players pitching?
Get the fuck out of here with a mercy rule, Ben. This isn't Little League. You're not getting orange slices and Pepsi afterwards.
I spent good amount of money to go to that game. I expect 9 innings. I don't care how horrible or embarrassing my team shows up that day or how horribly we're clobbering another team. I came and I spent money. I get 9 innings. Mm-hmm. Baseball games are like a snowflake. They all look different. They all become different. There's always something at a baseball game that you'll never see. You might see something crazy, like a 30 spot put up by the Texas Rangers, I think in 07 or 08, something like that. But that was a moment. That was a memory. It was a memory for that franchise. When position players come in and pitch, it's just an interesting part of the sport that you get to see sometimes. I have no problem with it happening. Mercy rules are for T-ball league and slow pitch softball and maybe little league, but absolutely not. You get 9 innings. It's a baseball game. Not to mention, there is something else with a limit. It's a statistical sport. So this is an opportunity where you're seeing the ERAs go up from pitchers because they're getting crushed, and batting averages and home runs and RBIs being accumulated by the hitters in that game during those 9 innings. That's a reason maybe why this guy had 100 RBIs versus 96 that day, because they had a big game that day. So let 9 innings play out regardless of what it is.
That 30-run game that you're talking about it happened in Baltimore against the Orioles in 2007. And the Baltimore Orioles used 4 pitchers that day. 4. Daniel Cabrera. I don't know who the hell this guy is. Brian Burris.
I remember that name.
Paul Shuey. And Rob Bell. They used real pitchers in that game. And if you're not bringing in position players to play that game, then I don't know when you're bringing in a position player.
But just to clarify, you guys think that bringing in position players is a good thing for the sport?
If you're down 27 runs, yes. You're going to get through the end of the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, my spirit animal, Williams Astudillo, has had like 4 or 5 appearances as a relief pitcher. I expect him to be relief pitcher eligible in 2022 on Yahoo. Make it so. But realistically, and look, Williams Astudillo gave up a home run to your mean Mercedes that year, right? And it was a big talking point because your mean Mercedes swung 3-0 up like 7 runs against another. Who cares? It's baseball. It's one game.
Yeah.
All the at-bats matter. All of the innings matter. All of the statistics matter, especially, again, I go back to when these players are trying to make millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give them every opportunity to get more runs and get more RBIs and get more hits, however it is. Joe, the first thing that you said was my favorite, is that you're going to get through the game. Like, we've never not seen 9 innings,
unless it's rain. The only thing that stops a game is Mother Nature. Moving on.
Okay.
Forget a mercy rule. This isn't beer league baseball.
I would like to bring up an idea or a rule that kind of goes in with the third one that Mike brought up, which was changing the batting order in the 9th inning. Can I jump in on that one now?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
In slow pitch softball, they've had something called the re-entry rule. So we all know that in baseball, once a guy comes out, that's it. He's out of the game. I'm not saying I'm for this at all, but I'm curious the thoughts of the two of you on maybe getting to put in a guy back into the game, whether it be a pitcher, whether it be a hitter? Should it be unlimited? Should it be one of each? Do you guys believe in the re-entry rule, or suck it up? You took them out. That's it. You're done.
Mike, go first because I have a really good question about this, but go ahead.
Okay. I mean, realistically, I think I'm against it. But do I think it would be kind of cool to like you said, Ben, have one pitcher and one hitter every game that can re-enter into the game? I think there would have to be clear stipulations, like you had to be out of the game for at least 3 innings or something, and once you serve your 3 innings on the bench, you can re-enter and rejoin the game. So something like ridiculous. But so I think like the goofy side of me would enjoy it, but I think realistically, if I had to vote like officially as a baseball person, I would vote against it.
Okay. Mike Haber, who was the best player on your fantasy baseball team this year?
Shohei Ohtani.
Didn't Shohei Ohtani play both ways? And if he was taken out as a pitcher, you didn't get his at bats anymore?
Yes.
That's who this rule is for. That's exactly who this rule is for. Shohei Ohtani on days he pitches is also technically being the designated hitter. Mm-hmm. But then they lose that designated hitter when Shohei Ohtani comes out of the game. And if Shohei Ohtani sucks balls and comes out in the 3rd inning, they've got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you were allowed to say in the 9th inning or later, and that's the only way I would put this to a vote. You have to have it A as in the 9th inning or later, and B, you only get one opportunity to do it. And you can bring back a pitcher to hit. You want to bring Zach Greinke in to hit? He's a pretty good hitter. You want to bring back Bumgarner to hit? That's cool too. You don't get any of the position players back.
And you can't bring in a pitcher?
No, no, you're not. No, you're not having a starter go 85 pitches, and then come out in the 6th, and then he comes back in the 9th. First of all, that's ripe for injury.
Oh no, for sure. I realize. I'm just saying hypothetically. I used Baez in the 7th, and then can I use him in the 9th? You know?
Yeah, I mean, no, I would certainly make it so that like you can do it. It's only going to benefit Shohei Ohtani and like maybe 1 or 2 other guys. That's how I would do that. Mike, let's move on to the next one.
All right. I hope you like Wild because that's where we're at. All
right, let's go.
Everything from here on out. All right. Extra innings. I feel like I kind of know how you guys feel about the Ghost Runner. So instead of a Ghost Runner, here's my wild idea, and it is wild.
Okay.
Instead of a Ghost Runner, every single batter starts with a 3-2 count in the extra innings.
So in theory, you could have a guy go 3 pitches and be out of the inning?
Correct.
Fuck out of here. And he's credited with a strikeout?
Correct.
Get the fuck out of here.
A guy on second was credited with a run, and he didn't do anything except make.
Yeah, I hated that too.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that Edwin Diaz could theoretically come into a game in the 10th inning, everybody starts with a 3-2 count. He could throw 9 pitches and get 9 strikeouts because he has a filthy slider that like nobody can hit.
No one's swinging at that first pitch, Joe, and he would walk the bases loaded to start.
Also true, and that would be
time.
the downside of the other. That would be the other side of my argument, like the other extreme, right? I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Ben,
I'm sorry to bring this back to slow pitch softball again, but we would start on a 1-1 count. That's how we start every single batter. Like that's how the game was played. You start in a 1-1 count, and on 2 strikes, if you foul, you're out. So you could foul off your first pitch, and then it's 1-2, but you can't do it again. The next one has to be in play. So did I like that? It worked for slow pitch softball because it's basically an offensive game. And the final scores were something like 13-9, and even though we played 7 innings. So for baseball, no, I hated the Ghost Runner. I think if I'm stuck till 2 a.m. watching a game on a Sunday night, I have the choice to turn off the game and go to sleep because I have work the next morning, or I'm going to remember that in 25 years when I'm an older guy and be like, wow, I remember watching this game. Now they're talking about it again 25 years later. I stayed up and I watched that game. And I have many memories like that, and I hold them all dearly. So I'm ready to get rid of the Ghost Runner, to have baseball played the way it was for over 100 years, and it's worked.
Yep.
But I guess something to keep in mind here is that MLB is trying to figure out a way to get younger fans invested in the game. And I'm not saying I'm for this 3-2 count rule. I'm just saying in general, like if that's a goal because you want to increase revenue and you want younger fans, you want fans to start at a younger age so that they stay consistently fans. Shouldn't we be doing more to tweak the game?
Okay. I don't necessarily disagree with that, Mike, but I don't know if we need to start the tweaking in extra innings. Firstly, we would have to just figure out like how often do games actually go into extra innings, right? Then we have to say like out of those extra inning games, how many of them actually go past 12 or 13 innings? I think we just start getting into an even smaller percentage. Now, I watched games in 2020 and 2021 that even though they put that Ghost Runner in, we still got 12 or 13 innings. It still happened. And you can argue maybe those games would have ended in the 10th inning with normal rules. Baseball's a long sport, you know, no matter what, like you're going to be watching for 3 hours, you're going to be watching for 3.5 hours. If it happens to go into extra innings, yes, then we're dealing with this issue. But I'd need to know statistically, and I'm sure Joe would be able to pull up, like how many games actually go past 12. How many games actually go past 13?
It's difficult.
It's very,
to find.
I'm sure. Yeah. You can find anything on the internet. I've really learned that. Like there's a way to like if you're really good at searching something, there's like a way to find out freaking anything on the internet. So I'm just saying, Mike, like I agree that a tweaking needs to happen because the appeal to this sport is not the same as it was in 1960 or 1980 or 1920. It's different now. I realize that people have much shorter attention spans. Most of the time, someone will be looking at their phone and they'll miss the home run. Because honestly, like if you knew how to watch a baseball game, you could make it very quick for yourself mentally. All you have to do is watch the pitch. That's the only time action is happening. Between pitches is when you have the chat. It's when you look at your phone. It's when you're doing whatever you have to do. But when it's time to watch the pitch, watch the pitch. Once the pitch is thrown, now you can go. And if you did that and you understood that about baseball, it would be a quick game for you mentally. People aren't able to do that. They're either watching constantly saying, this is slow, this is boring, or they're looking at their phone and then they miss the action. Like that's the issue.
Good point. Yeah.
Yep. I think we're out on this, and the extra innings thing in general, yeah, maybe there's one game a day that goes to extra innings, and it goes 10 or 11, and then one game a week goes beyond 12. So then we're talking about what, 25 games a year
that go past 12.
Yeah, just
deal with it.
Throwing it out there that like these are things that's a realistic number.
And I think part of it too is the disconnect between the players and the viewers. I mean, I do believe that if more players were mic'd up, or like you said, if umpires were mic'd up, I think it would give us, the viewers, a chance to connect with some of these players.
And you hear a lot of F-bombs, by the way, if the players were mic'd up.
You know what? Here's one thing I want. I want to be able to have my MLB.TV package, and I want to have an adult-only setting on like the commentary or the field things. Like, don't bleep that stuff out. I want to hear that. I want to hear what Aaron Boone's saying. I want to hear him talk about how his guys are savages in the box. I want to hear that. Let me be able to pay for that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
No censorship in baseball.
Right.
It's
like,
almost,
look, I get that. I get that you've got the families that you need to cater to on the national broadcasts. Fine. You want to have that for individual broadcasts. Fine. But give me the option to. Give me an analytical pair of guys calling the game, and give me on-field microphones that are not bleeped. That's all I
Yeah.
want. That's all I
'Cause
want. And I would pay you
everybody-
$200 for the year.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a fly in the wall to find out what guys are talking about in the dugout. Like
Put a mic in
that
there,
would be
too.
that would be fascinating, but I feel like that might change how the players are enjoying the sport, that now they feel like their conversation now needs to be muted or censored in such a way because they don't want the public to know like who they hung out with last night, you know?
Well, so be it. I'm
I feel
not
like
going to ever
maybe-
get that wish of uncensored baseball
Oh,
games. So
That would be amazing, though. I
wouldn't
love
it?
that.
You would pay for that. You pay $200
Oh, yeah.
for that for a
100%.
season.
Probably more.
100%. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
What's next,
I got
Mike?
two more for you guys.
Okay.
First, a question. So right now, how is home field advantage determined in the World Series?
Best record of the
Best
team
record.
in there.
And how was it like a couple years ago?
It
The
used to be
All-Star
the
game.
All-Star game.
The All-Star game used to
Oh
be.
no.
So here's something wild. You could say no, you can hate it. Whichever league has the most grand slams by the end of the regular season gets home field advantage in the World Series. Joe?
Most arbitrary statistic known to mankind. Let's go ahead and all right, whoever has the most doubles with 2 outs in the 7th inning.
So that's a no from Joe. All right, Ben.
I put grand slams as a statistic in our fantasy league for about a week before the season started, thinking like this will be funny, like this will be fun. Like, oh, I took it out a week later, just thinking this is so circumstantial. I do not want this to be the decider of someone winning by the score of 11-10 or whatever, however many statistics we had at the time. I just couldn't do it. I do not enjoy that at all. I think I had a huge problem when the winner of the All-Star game decided that, even though I feel like in general, I feel like baseball is not a sport that's really where like home field advantage really is an advantage necessarily. I don't think so in hockey. I think it's more so a football and a basketball thing where home field really matters. So like even having home field advantage when it happened, like All-Star game, like, oh, okay. So like a guy that gets a big RBI in the All-Star game who plays for the Baltimore Orioles somehow makes the difference of how the World Series is being played. I hated it, but at the same time, like, I also was just like, I don't care either way, really. But I prefer it being the way it is, that it is the best record, and that the team would prefer to play more games at home, the team themselves, and that the fans could potentially get to see their team 4 times if it's a game 7. The most important thing to me as far as like home field is that the owner gets ticket sales. So like you want to maximize the amount of opportunities your team could get home games. So you get so much in ticket sales, in merchandise, in hot dogs and Cracker Jacks and beverages, beer, whatever it is. Like that's where it becomes important that the Braves this year got to maximize theirs in the World Series. They got to play all their 3 games. The Astros, they got 3. They could have had 4. They weren't able to get it. But anyway, I digress. I feel like the way it is right now is fine.
So I have 2 things on this. First is a question, Mike. What happens if the AL and NL tie in grand slams?
Ooh, home run derby.
They just have a home run derby before the World Series.
No, whoever wins the home run derby is the tiebreaker. Is what my
there you
favorite
go.
saying. Now, hang on. This gets better. So, the home run derby happens, and Pete Alonso wins. Right?
Yeah.
Great. And then he's traded a week later to an AL team. Now what? Who gets it?
Well, he won it for the NL.
Okay, so the NL would keep it regardless of
Yeah.
whether that player is okay.
And
That was just my like fly in the ointment. Let's see how this could go sideways in a hurry.
Yeah.
Second, I looked this up because I can find many things on the internet rather quickly. And
Mhm.
I have through 2018. That doesn't give us the entire picture, but it gives us a ton of stuff
Okay.
here. Ben, who had home field advantage in the 2018 World Series? The NL or the AL?
The NL.
Correct. And the NL also, or no, I'm sorry. The AL had more Grand Slams. And what you're going to see here, Mike Haber, is that through history, the AL is going to have a lot more Grand Slams. Why? Because the DH exists.
Mm.
So that's like the other underlying thing.
True.
That's like, yeah.
True. I mean, universal DH could level the playing field there, but yes.
Is that the final rule change that you've got for us? Is universal DH? Because if it's not, I'm
I
kind
have
of
something
disappointed.
really, really crazy.
We might as well hit
But we
on
can
that
talk
after
about it.
Yeah,
this.
let's talk on that. I
Yeah.
love it. I think it's time. I understand somebody saying, "Well, I like that brand of baseball," and I think that's where Ben Nisman's going to go on this. I understand that argument, and I understand the conversation of, well, a pitcher needs to hit, he plays, and like this is how that baseball's been played. The only thing I will say, and I don't have any like statistical statements for like what you like. I can't make you not like it. But when you're adding 15 jobs to a baseball league that could extend somebody's career and potentially put them in the Hall of Fame, I can't stand in the way of that. Ben, how are you on the Universal DH?
I don't know if you know where I'm going to go on this, but I like the brand of baseball in the National League. I prefer that strategy, and I love the double switch if it's played correctly. I think there is, I mean, someone will say, oh, stupid, the inning is over, like the pitcher is up, great, like I can go grab, a water or whatever I have to do right now because the inning is over, and then I can do commercial, so I have about 5 minutes. To me, I think that's the strategy of it. Like if you have a base open and the 8 batter is up, and you have the choice, like, do you want to go after the 8 hitter here with a man in scoring position and take that shot right now because you want the pitcher to lead off the next inning? Go for it. Or get out of the inning, walk the 8 batter, face the pitcher, make the manager make a decision. I love that. That's something that I really have always enjoyed since I was in my teens watching the sport. So I would leave it the way it is. I know that I'm going to lose that war eventually. I say all those people that love the junior circuit and think they need the DH in the National League because there should be rules that are universal regardless of league. I just say, get off my lawn. You can have your sport and you can have your set of rules. Let me enjoy my brand of baseball. But I realize that that's a battle that I am going to lose ultimately.
All right, Mike, let's get to the last topic here. What do you got for us?
This is the craziest and dumbest one of all. Okay, so we can talk about this for 5 seconds if you guys want. To boost ratings in baseball, I will implement for Sunday Night Baseball shirts versus skins. Joe?
Sunday Night Baseball is always played on what network?
ESPN.
Does ESPN need a boost in ratings? Do they need some sort of like an extra revenue coming in? Like the premise of this rule change is a problem for me, let alone what you're going to do to boost ratings.
This is one of the dumbest
things.
Second,
how does somebody slide in head first without a shirt on, Mike Haber? Do you not want these men to have nipples anymore? Third, what if a guy has a belly button or a nipple ring?
You can't play with a belly button ring.
You can't play with a belly button ring. How many females play slow pitch softball that you know?
Why are we constantly coming back
to... Good point. A hit by pitch already would leave a welt. Like, I can't imagine what taking one bear skin would feel like. Like in the wrong spot. Like, there's a chance that garment of polyester actually
Wait,
does
wait,
protect an
wait,
injury.
wait. I'm 1,000% in favor of this rule on one condition. On one condition. It has to be every Twins game, and the Twins always have to be skins, and Williams Astudillo has to play fucking shirtless all the time.
Why?
Because it. Look, hang on.
Where is this going?
Exactly where I wanted it.
I thought you were going to say. I would say like, okay, if the mascots also have to be topless,
Because
like that might be funny.
Because
That
there
is
is
fun.
nothing more glorious than the thought of seeing that man shirtless. He's baby
Oh.
Bartolo. And him
Sure.
running around third base just with this battle face on. Yeah. Give me shirtless Williams Astudillo. Give me shirtless Alejandro Kirk. Give me shirtless Bartolo. That's yeah.
Just guys that have pot bellies that could do a truffle shuffle when they're running, basically.
Do you
Daniel
not,
Vogelback.
do you not think more people would watch baseball games if it was shirts versus skins? I do.
Like,
I do too.
I'm going to show you the
I think-
photo that made me fall in love with Williams Astudillo. It's this one. Now just imagine him without a shirt on doing this.
Do you think you'd get some people in cancel culture just being like very offended by the fact that people are half naked? Either that it's like offensive to them, or that, you know, they're affecting like the younger community that have to see this all the time. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know why I'm having this conversation.
We just
Oh, Ben would be a good sport.
Oh goodness. All right, I'll address the cancel culture idea. Most of these players will be very well chiseled athletes. We don't have
baseball players.
Most of them.
You don't
Right?
need to have a six-pack to play baseball.
No.
These are not basketball players.
No, but
They're
like
not football
by
players.
and large, they're going to be well-maintained athletes. You're not going to see
I
the
don't think as
Williams
many as-
Astudillo
I don't
and
think as
Alejandro
many as
Kirk
you
are like.
think.
Either way, we don't have a problem in the Winter Olympics or in the
That was
Summer
gonna be
Olympics
my
when
argument, yeah.
swimmers are wearing nothing
Swimmers.
but sweet speedos. That's all I'm going to bring up there.
Yeah, that's
But I
think
once again
that's a
go
good
back
point.
to like all of a sudden the head first slide is taken out of from that team, and like the beanball thing is real for I certainly would not want to be hit in the back with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball wearing
Yeah.
nothing. I don't want to be hit in the back by a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in general,
No.
but
No,
shirtless
yeah,
would
but
be very, very
yeah,
painful.
I would say that thin layer of polyester is still better than nothing. Like
Agreed.
it may actually protect from an injury. I'd like to throw one more elephant in the room as
Go.
we know that Bob Manfred has done what he thinks, even though I will argue that he isn't really a fan of the sport of baseball, and he doesn't really care about the fans that much. The extra inning rule was his rule. I do believe that eventually he would outlaw the shift because I've heard him talk about it. The first one that he did that I really didn't like, I actually really do like the sliding into second base neighborhood, you know, the fact that you can't come spikes up as much, or in running over the catcher without the ball, coming into home plate and a play at home plate. I'm totally okay with that one. As you know, the one that I've had the most trouble with, aside from the extra inning rule, is the 3-batter rule, that a reliever comes into the game and must face 3 batters unless that's the one that gets him out of the inning. If he comes in with 2 outs, he comes in, gets out of the inning, you don't have to bring him back in. But in general, I've seen this become an issue. I saw it in the Yankee game against the Red Sox, actually, where I saw one of the pitchers, I believe Chad Green, that got screwed with it, and he eventually gives up a big hit. If he was able to be taken out before 3 batters, maybe Aaron Boone is able to do that and maybe save them from letting up another run. How do you guys feel about the 3-batter rule, as now we've seen it for 2.5 years?
I still don't like it, but I don't think it's going anywhere. That's the worst part about this, is that like I don't like it, but I understand why it was implemented, and I understand that it's probably here to stay. It just sucks because a lot of the time, and this is more geared toward a fantasy conversation than it is anything else, but by and large, when you are now, especially in our league, drafting a bullpen, you probably want guys who are going to be in high leverage situations, and you're guaranteed at least an inning. You're not getting a whole lot of like one batter appearances anymore. Even for a guy who comes in and gets the third out of an inning, he's probably going back out. Because if you're going to bring a dude in, you may as well use him for his three batters at this point now. So I don't like it. I don't think it's going anywhere. Would I get rid of it? Absolutely. But I think I would replace it with something else because I don't necessarily like the idea of La Russa balling the late innings, where it's just a parade of dudes coming in for one batter at a time. I don't like that either.
Mm.
But I don't think this was the correct answer to alleviate that problem. Mike?
That was going to be my exact argument too, was that I don't like the rule, but why was it put in place? To speed the game up, and it has. And I agree.
You feel like it has?
I feel like it has. Because like Joe was saying, you can just go righty lefty righty in your bullpen, but then that's what 6-7 minutes between batters. Yeah, commercial, all that. So I don't know. I agree. I don't think that the three batter rule is the answer, but I think my personal opinion is I think it's better than being able to just have one pitcher per batter and go through a parade.
Eventually you run out of pitchers though, do you not? Like, I mean, there's only so many pitchers, right? Like you can go through the parade, but eventually you have to stick with one guy, right? Or the game ends at a certain point anyway. So
sure.
I hear what you're saying.
But if you're then saying that everybody has a DH, then you never have to pinch hit either. So you could just leave that, long relief guy in like Nate Eovaldi did that one playoff game for the Red Sox where he pitched like 7 scoreless in relief until, yeah, like I don't like the rule now, but I think it's better than the parade of relievers that we were seeing. And think about it this way. If that rule wasn't implemented, how many Tampa Bay Rays games would you see where after the 4th inning, you'd just see, okay, this guy for an inning, then that guy for this batter, and then another guy for another inning, and then that guy for this batter, and then another guy. Like it would get monotonous.
How about just the same way that the extra inning rule was done, that you do the 3 batter rule for the 162 games. And once we get to the playoffs, just like old school, like then forget the 3 batter rule. Like we get rid of it. We can do the parade and whatever for a playoff game for 9 innings.
I think all bets are off at that point because you're trying to win every single game.
Yeah, all hands on deck.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. A random game in the middle of July, that you're down, 7-2. You shouldn't be doing this. Period.
Yeah.
I think that one will wrap up this show. Mike Haber, this was so much fun, dude.
Thank you for thanks for humoring me with this. But it was a really good time. Thank you for letting me do this.
Yeah, this was terrific. I loved them. I thought they were, at least the majority of them were very well thought out. And you know what? It gives us a lot to talk about. Ben Nisman, thank you for being the yin to my yang when it comes to the DH and the shift. I certainly appreciate you being that other side of the coin for me.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure, and I think that's what's beautiful about the sport, that we could agree on so much, and we can agree to disagree because the sport is so subjective. And humoring you was a pleasure, Mike, because these were very amusing. They brought up really intriguing arguments, most of them, and I thought this was a great idea. I thought this was brilliant. And I really, really didn't expect this kind of a conversation tonight. So thank you for keeping it unpredictable for me, boys, because I really enjoyed it a lot.
Guys, thank you both for being here with me, and thank you all for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, we thank you so much. Go ahead and click that like button. Subscribe if you're new to our channel, and make sure you ring that bell, because every time we upload, you'll get a notification. For those of you listening on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're there. You can find us. And we've got a whole lot more coming in the future for everybody. Next week, who knows what we're going to talk about? We have a lot of ideas in the works. I think I want to dive into the New York Yankees offseason now that the Atlanta Braves have officially won the World Series.
Ugh.
Gross, disgusting. We will not be talking about the Braves. Frank Bucco, we're not talking about your team. Until next time, guys, it has been real. It's been fun. And it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.